The beast. We've cornered him. Draw your weapons. Prepare yourselves. Charge!
Welcome to the Raiders Confessional, the podcast for all things raiding in the World of Warcraft.
How's it going, Raiders? I'm Ryan. This is TRC, Episode 6. Joining me today, as usual, are Dan and Cole. How are you, Dan and Cole?
Good.
How's it going?
Cool story, bros. Also joining us today is a good friend of mine who happens to be another podcaster and WoW Raider, Marty. How are you, Marty?
Hello, I'm good. It's a little bit late here, but I'm still going strong.
Well, just to kind of let our listeners know, now that you've said the late comment, you were coming all the way in from Denmark, are you not?
That is correct. It's 1:30 over here, a.m. So yeah, it's a little bit late.
I'm happy we could move the time up for you, so it wasn't the scheduled 3:30 in the morning recording time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really thankful for that. Thank you.
I want to go to Denmark. It'd be fun.
Well, we are certainly happy to have you here today. Per request of some of you listeners out there, we have moved off of our, we did our first look at Tomb episode, and then we did our 3-part series before that where we talked, how to start a progression group, how to handle being in a progression group in the middle of progression, and then what you do while waiting for the next content, in between tiers, that kind of stuff. And then obviously we had our inaugural episode. And so now this episode is kind of the inaugural episode where it marks us moving into a series of episodes where we cover some more role specific episodes. And this one today will be more healing specific. And then from there we'll move on to, some a range DPS episode, a melee DPS episode, and a tank episode. And then from there we have some other things slotted up. But for right now today, we are going to talk healing. And Marty, much to his behest, is our resident expert for the day. So thank you, Marty, for being here. But before we jump into the meat of the show, why don't you kind of tell our listeners, Marty, what you do in the digital space that is video games and podcasting, and kind of give a brief history of your WoW experience and that kind of stuff,
Yeah, sure. WoW experience. I've been playing almost since the beginning. I was a few months behind. I think it was out in Europe a little bit later than in the US. So, but I've been playing since March 2000, and what will that be? 5?
A long time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah. So I've been
before me.
So I've been playing since vanilla, and my first character that I ever made was a priest. And
is the priest that you're currently on the same one?
No, it's not. My original priest was a undead priest, and I'm playing Alliance now. So yeah,
Shame.
It's not the same one.
I know. Alliance is the worst. And yet we all play Alliance.
For the horde.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, you currently are in a mythic progression guild, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And your group did manage to kill Mythic Gul'dan last year?
No, not Mythic Gul'dan. We never met. We were a little bit late to the party because we've used most of the expansion to get back into raiding and get the group back together and get raiders. And every time we were like, we finally have the group, then 4 people decided to quit and we needed to re-recruit again. Finally back up, 4 more people quit, and that's how we've been behind the whole expansion. And it's not until this tier that we actually went straight into heroic where we wanted to be. And so sadly we lacked the 3 last bosses from Nighthold on Mythic, but we have high hopes for this tier.
Sure. Well, and I certainly can say that, I think, Dan, you would agree with me here, and Cole, probably from an observational standpoint, we have felt the exact same struggle over here on the NA servers with, you get your numbers right there where you want them, and then miraculously 3-4 people quit, or you have to get rid of some people, just, right. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. The recruitment game seems to be the real boss of this expansion, in my opinion, and it's a continual one. But, so, you're in a Mythic Progression Guild. You did most of Nighthold with the exception of the last 3 bosses. And last I spoke to you when we did your other podcast, which we'll get to here in a second, you guys were 8 of 9 in Heroic, correct?
That is correct. And
you guys rated since then?
Yes, we have rated today. So 8 out of 9 is where we're at right now. So tomorrow we'll have a full raid night at Kil'jaeden. So that will be interesting.
Well, good luck for that. I certainly look forward to hearing that you guys finally got out of Heroic and are making the jump into Mythic. That's exciting. We're a few bosses behind you guys, so we have a little bit of work to do, but we'll get there eventually too ourselves. So real quickly, Marty, why don't we go ahead and talk real quick? You do a couple other podcasts, that's correct, right?
That is correct. It all started out with 3 years ago now. It's ages ago. One of my friends asked me if I wanted to do a podcast together with him, and I've been wanting to do a podcast for quite a while, but never really. I didn't feel like doing it alone. I never really found a friend to do it, and then other stuff in life happened. But then all of a sudden he came and asked me if I wanted to, and I was like, yes, let's do it. And we quickly decided that we wanted to do a Blizzard podcast, not just like a specific game, because we didn't really feel like we could talk 100% about World of Warcraft, especially when it's, World of Warcraft has its ups and downs, and when you're in that lull and you don't have anything to talk about, what do you then talk about? So we quickly decided that let's do a full Blizzard podcast, and that's called the Blue Recluse. Some people think that we are a role-playing podcast, by judging by the name, because the Blue Recluse is an inn in Stormwind. So, but that's not the case. We are a Blizzard podcast.
And I can tell you from firsthand experience, as of yesterday or 2 days ago, it is nothing but it is not anywhere close to being roleplay. It is just a giant shit show and hilarious and a lot of fun. We had Dusty and I from Blizzard Umbrella had a blast recording with you guys this week. So. There's no role playing involved. It's just a shit show and a lot of fun.
In a good way, I hope.
No, absolutely. It was a great show. It was a good time, and I certainly like listening to you guys over there. You guys do good work. So it was a lot of fun. Now you have recently started doing kind of a side project that I don't want to say direct. It doesn't really relate to video games. I know sometimes it does, but I believe it is called Sleepless in Copenhagen, correct?
That is correct. Sleepless in Copenhagen is my little solo project, which is, I have no clue what it is, to be honest. It's just me experimenting, trying different things out, because on the Blue Recluse, we kind of have this set of rules that we made for ourselves, and we can only talk about World of Warcraft. Blizzard games. We can only talk about Blizzard games, and sometimes I play other games as well, and so sometimes I want to talk about that as well, and but I also talk about just life, what's been happening in my life. The first 2 episodes were just about generally podcasting, because it's something that's starting to be a big part of my life now. So yeah, it can be all sorts of things, I guess. I have a few different subjects that I want to talk about in the future that's far from gaming. So it's I guess you can call it my sort of audio blog, maybe something like that, maybe.
Well, I would say, Marty, that's a pretty accurate description based on the first few episodes I've been able to listen to. I haven't been able to listen to them all, but I really enjoyed the first few episodes, and I would say giving it the title of an audio blog is a fairly accurate description. And I kind of laughed at your intro for the show, where you'll have to help me through it here. It's a little bit about nothing, something, and everything all at once, right?
Yeah.
So the disclaimer is there from the first second you start talking, that it's gonna be kind of all over the map, and there's really not gonna be any rhyme or reason to it. But surprisingly enough, it's a really interesting listen to. So I would definitely suggest for any of you listeners out there looking to listen to something other than video games, give Marty's show a listen. It's pretty good stuff.
And it's just it's really fun way for me to just try and be a little bit more creative than what I can be on the Blue Recluse. For instance, the latest episode I did, we went I have this friend group of international people. We all met more through World of Warcraft or through the internet, and so we do stuff regularly. Actually, we meet up every New Year's, and this year we decided to go on a summer holiday as well. So I brought some recording equipment, and I talked to all of them, and I edited everything together to one big piece, and it was so different from what I do on the Blue Recluse. So it was so much fun.
That's cool. I look forward to listening to that episode. Like I said, I have yet to get to that one, but I certainly will, because when you say you're looking for some outlet to be more creative than you currently are in the Blue Recluse, I'm kind of shaking my head, because you guys are fairly creative on the Blue Recluse. You know, I didn't fully expect to what I was getting into when I hopped onto the show with you guys the other day, and you know, the two shows I do, both this one and Blizzard Umbrella, you know, we don't really use scripts of any kind or any sort of like super fleshed out pre-show notes, and you guys had all that stuff prepped, ready to go. It was a lot of fun, so that's cool. I'm excited to see what comes out of your work with Sleepless in Copenhagen.
Me too.
So, well, that's good, since you're the creator, you know.
Yeah.
Before we jump into things, real quick, Dan and Cole. Cole, why don't you kind of start us off, man? What have you been up to in game lately?
I really haven't been in game. I've been playing Necromancer over on Diablo 3. So, I guess just doing my emissaries and maybe Broken Shore quests here and there. Got a little more gear for my Warlock, but yeah, I haven't really been touching WoW. You
got a decent legendary on your Demon Hunter finally, though, right?
Yeah, I got the Chaos Theory, but all my sims have it lower than what I have now, so it's kind of a disappointment. But that's pretty much how all legendaries go for me now. They're all just disappointing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fun to play around with. I did some mythic pluses with it to see how it would work in my demonic build, and it seemed to be performing pretty well. Getting those over million crits just in normal form is pretty fun. So yeah,
well, whenever you're ready,
looking
man,
forward to the shoulders or
the
ring,
the elusive shoulders that you've yet to get.
Shoulders, and actually I won Sephu's Secret. It's supposed to be doing pretty well. So
right on.
Another 4 months and I'll get another legendary. So
well, whenever you're ready, we are ready and waiting for you over here on the dark side of the Warlock. You know, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Warlock's pretty fun. I have yet to get an Affliction legendary, so it's been I think a month now running everything. I'm just unlucky with these things.
You're cursed from the 3 Gallowhorns you got.
Yeah, right?
Cool. Dan, what have you been up to, my man?
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to alt. We had our alt raid on Sunday. Unfortunately, I was on the Paladin and ended up on the Monk, which pretty much sealed the fate for the Paladin to never come out again. Been talking to our off tank, trying to figure out if he's staying DH off tank or if he's going to dabble with DK, but it looks like I got to beat him to the punch with a DK. Other than that, I'm still waiting for my freaking Legos. Blizzard does not like me with legendaries at all. I know I played a lot of main hopping up until this point, but I think it's been a month and a half since I got a Lego, and all of mine aren't the prettiest. So I'm kind of disappointed with Blizzard with this Lego system.
Yeah, well, we can certainly dive into that in another subject, or another episode, rather.
Let's do it now.
Well, you know what? In the spirit of the rawness that is this show, Marty. Before we jump into it, I'll quickly say I've been getting some more gear in my Warlock. I too have been playing around with what main do I want to, what alt I want to keep as my main alt. Right now I'm leaning between. I was gonna go an off tank, but it sounds like our off tanks are pretty much set up. So I'll probably lean towards a healer of some sort. But, you know, other than that, I've been doing a lot of work on the podcast, both this one, you know, as you guys have probably picked up on, I guest appeared on Marty's Blue Recluse show a couple days back. A lot of fun. And then also, you know, the Blizzard Umbrella, which I do with Dusty. So I've been staying quite busy. And also for any of you guys listening out there now, if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, I would highly suggest that you do. I have recently updated our channel with 3 how-to videos explaining how to use Pawn, SimC, and also Warcraft logs in an attempt to make some of the things that might seem a little bit difficult or scary, a little bit easier and less scary for you guys. So go check it out. Let us know what you think. And as always, guys, if you guys have any sort of subjects you want us to either cover on the show through videos, let us know. You can always get a hold of us, and we'll certainly talk about that at the end of the show. It includes the links in the show notes at the end of the show. But I guess that being said, Marty, you said it, man. Let's jump into. Give us your opinion on Legendaries.
I think it's a shit show, obviously. No, I think it's not perfect. Let's just put it that way. I think one of the main issues is that those legendaries, that's a straight up DPS increase, is probably one of the main problems. I think they have been balanced a little bit more around now, but I still think that it is a little bit of an issue because some classes just perform so much better with that specific legendary, and since it's RNG and you can't really farm it, then one person can just be really, really unlucky and maybe never get the legendary. For instance, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, I've read instances of people going 10 of their 12 legendaries or whatever, and that last one is the one they actually needed the whole time, and it's just feels bad.
It feels really bad, and me as a holy priest, one of the most sought after legendary is the cloak, so you can resurrect yourself.
Oh yeah,
and that's the best in slot for me. And I think I have 2 or 3 legendaries left that I can get, and that's one of them still. So,
oh wow, so you're in that same boat.
Yeah, so I bet I'll get it right before they announce the next expansion.
I love that you have 2 or 3 left to get. I have 2 or 3 that I can use. My first legendary and my monk ended up being the freaking healing ring, trying to get a cake off of Trilliax. Thanks, Blizzard. I'm so sorry about that.
But another thing that really annoys me as well is that in our guild we try to also have viable off specs. And I haven't gotten any of my DPS legendaries, obviously, because why would I change my loot spec when I haven't got my best in slot healing one yet? So that's another downside to the system as well.
Yeah, that's very true.
What's funny is they made a halfway decent attempt at fixing that very problem right there, Marty, with the ability of the bad luck protection being spec specific. But if you have any of the legendaries that cross over from one class to the next, such as a Pride As or Sephuz, those affect the bad luck protection across all of your specs. So if you have any, like in your situation, if you have any of those left, it's
both.
Not worth it.
I had both when they implemented that system. So I was like,
okay, that's lucky then. Yeah. That's good.
Well, you're certainly lucky then, because a lot of people are that right there is pretty much the deal. Seals the deal in terms of I'm never going to change my loot spec, because if on the off chance I get, even in one of my off specs, I get the Pride As or a Sephuz and it screws my bad luck protection on the one I'm really fishing for a legendary for, it's not worth my time. So if I'm going to get one of those, I might as well do it while staying the spec that I'm really looking for that specific legendary for.
That sounds familiar to our upper cower when Cole asked me to go Windwalker spec for it, and I was like, watch, I'm going to get friggin' Sephuz. And I was scared as hell. Thankfully, Blizzard actually didn't give me another crap legendary.
And the other thing too is, at the beginning of the expansion, we certainly saw where there were, almost every class had one, if not 2 legendaries that were like the end all be all. And if you didn't have those, there was no way you were even going to compete. And I think they've done a better job of balancing those out, but I still think that the system in its current iteration, like you guys have all expressed, is just not a good one. If you're going to keep the legendary system, in my opinion, you need to make it to be where instead of, getting an actual legendary, you should get like a form of some sort of currency that you can spend on a legendary of your choice,
like a pick one of 3 or something.
Go ahead, Marty.
or maybe make them, because we've talked about it on the Blue Recluse as well, and one of the suggestions is why does it absolutely have to be DPS increases? Because there is quite a few fun utility legendaries in there as well. So why not, if you really want to pursue a legendary system, why not just make them something that would actually change how you play your specs, so you get a little bit more diversity in how you can play the different specs instead. Something along those lines, maybe.
Yeah, like the Warlock portal pants. Those come to mind. Those are fun to play with. But
the Warlock portal pants, the Priest healing helm, the mail pants that shamans and hunters can use, all of those. Like, I would be 100% okay if every single legendary was a quality of life legendary, that provided some sort of utility and didn't really affect outside of the stats that were on the item, your DPS or healing or tanking for that matter. They were just, quality of life utility, but that's just me. Well, so I guess that being said, do you guys still think that the way the legendaries currently are, we still have a very heavy hand in influencing how rating is done currently?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, for me personally, well, I don't know if it really changes if you have a certain legendary, if you're going to be invited, maybe in the mythic scene, the upper, but like a Prides, let's take for example, you'll probably use that on a lot of progression fights because it gives you such a stat stick and also defensives, right? So, but it really, for me, it if I have an alt spec or an alt class that I want to roll with and try to level up and stuff, if I get the worst Lego right off the bat, I just stop playing that class for a while because I get so mad. But I don't know if that affects people's views on rating, if they're going to switch over to an alt, if they get that worst legendary first, if they're just like, all right, well, I'm just going to stay on my main.
Yeah. What about you, Marty? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I know that our DPS people, they switch gear around now because they have quite a few legendaries. So depending on what kind of fight it is, they switch a lot of gear around. But I guess that's not really anything new now, is it?
No.
So yeah, I don't know.
So moving forward, let's say we have the option in the next expansion to either keep or do away with legendaries. I'm guessing the resounding answer from everybody is do away with them.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing. I think Blizzard get rid of them. All right. I think Blizzard have learned a lot from this expansion, so I wouldn't mind seeing version 2.0 just to see if they can do something, because I still kind of like the idea of legendaries. Or do I? I'm not really sure, because they kind of always have been a problem.
Look at Garrison's 2.0. Come on, they didn't change anything.
Yeah. Well, I like the legendaries. Not in their current form, but I like the idea of them having something that it goes along with the lore of the story, and then having that special strong item as more maybe as a utility thing instead of a DPS increase. But I don't know. Maybe there's just a better way of implementing it. But that's an English fail.
Do you English?
Yeah, do I English? But having them in game, I think is, I don't know, it's fun. It's like back when
detrimental to our health.
Well, back when I guess vanilla WoW, when you found that random purple item out in the world and you thought it was the coolest thing. I love that feeling. But
yeah.
So bring back more purples, not this orange bullshit.
I don't know, maybe story or quests that go along with getting a cool legendary, your first one, and then the rest of them being random. I don't know.
I think that's just it right there. You can't, like, it would be...
There's got to be a way.
It would be detrimental for them to go back to the old system where there was a time-gated legendary that everybody worked towards throughout the entire expansion, right? Like, those have just played themselves out. I think for the most part, the community is done and over those types of legendaries. And this whole fishing for legendaries, depending on RNG, is not working in its current form. So I'm with Marty. I think, and I think that, other than Dan just being like, fuck no, done with legendaries.
Listen, I come off very salty on this podcast. I really like this game. I really do. But the fact that Legion is RNG craft, I'm not very happy with that aspect of it. But everything else, I can tolerate. It's good.
I don't know. They had a good
Spinning
article
the wheel
about
is
RNG.
not very fun at all for me, due to the fact that every one of my tunes that I've played has been dicked over.
In a good way?
No.
Oh, okay.
But isn't that also one of the issues, that it's so RNG? If you could try and be a little bit more specific in what legendary you were going to farm in some way, would that change anything?
It's not the RNG with the legendaries, it's the RNG with Titan forging and all that crap too. Like, I'm just not a fan of how RNG everything is this expansion. Like, it's completely let me throw all the dice up in the air and see where they land.
Yeah,
I played every expansion prior to this, and I've loved where it's going. I don't have to worry about things going 20 eye levels Titan Forge to the future, and I don't have to worry about this piece of shit freaking Sephu's ring dropping for me, which I'm gonna lose my shit if I get it.
He's gonna get it now.
I know I'm gonna get it now.
I hope
You'll probably hear it on my stream, me screaming "fuck."
No, I mean, RNG has its elements that can be good for a game, because you don't want it to be too predictable, right? That's just boring. Then you know what's going to come all the time.
And I think that's the thing that the community often forgets or so easily looks past, is the continued desire that is derived from RNG. You know what I mean? Like you said, Cole, if you get rid of RNG, there's nothing left to work towards or look forwards to, you know, and you know, I think we become jaded from having played this game so seriously and for so long. It's very easy to forget that those things have a purpose at times. But I am with Dan in this respect. I think, and for me personally, I would argue that Titan Forging is a bigger problem than Legendaries currently are, in my honest opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just my opinion. And
it is actually true, because I am sitting here thinking back when we did Nighthold, and I had quite a few items that Titan rolled from normal, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. And then I got into heroic, and I was like, oh, there's no gear for me here anymore, because I already got better gear. So yeah, that aspect is a little bit weird to me as well. I will give you that. So yeah, I'll have to agree with that as well then.
Well, guys, there you have it. That is the conversation I think every podcast in the world of the Blizzard gaming, especially the World of Warcraft, has tried to avoid since the first month of the game. And I know we've danced around it, but there it is. We finally had the conversation. Let us know what you guys think. I know that there's always going to be opinions on this subject matter, and we would certainly love to hear them from you guys. But that being said, I'd like to jump now into the topic of the show for today, and that is healing in Tomb of Sargeras. Which is why our friend Marty is here. So before I get into you, Marty, Dan, and Cole, let's start with you, Dan. I know you have dabbled a little bit with healing throughout the course of our guild, and to what it is now. What are your thoughts in terms of healing from what you've seen with Tomb of Sargeras?
My thoughts on healing in Tomb, it's interesting because we generally run our 5 healer comp. I don't know what you run right now, Marty. I'm sure we'll get into it. But as of last week, we actually ran a 4 healer comp, and when we first went up against KJ, we had a 4 healer comp, in which the 5 healers would have been nice. But at the same time, I feel like, I'm not knocking our healers one bit, but I feel like there was probably this little bit that we could have just sat with 4 healers the whole time, and been happy-go-lucky, killed everything that we needed to. Like, Mistress, we were 4 healing, we had in DPS switch, and regardless whether it was 5 healing or 4 healing, if that DPS was DPSing, I feel that boss was dead. We had it at 13% or something like that, and it's clear that that DPS could have easily done 13% of that boss. So I guess I don't know if it's a personal standard of mine that it's kind of like it's hard to explain for me. I have the words, but I don't. I'm just really kind of confused with what the standard really is, and that'd be pretty much my first question for Marty. What is, like, being in a Mythic guild? What is your guys' standard for your general comp? What is the proper number of healers? I obviously it fluctuates raid to raid, but like, what is the general number, the general ideal comp? Because I've listened to shows that say, oh, double pally's great, double pally's not so great, monks, great filler for a pally, all that. And then I listened to another show that completely contradicts everything that I heard, so I kind of want to hear it firsthand.
Well, when it comes to healing, there's never a real answer, I kind of find, because it really depends on the people as well, and the skill level and gear level, obviously. And because I have played with comms in the past where people said this will never work, and we made it work. I think it's also about how are you managing tactics as a guild? Because what we do is that obviously we look at the same videos everybody else does, but sometimes we're like, this just doesn't work for us, so let's change the tactics so it actually suits us a little bit. And I think you shouldn't be afraid to try and do that as well, to actually challenge the videos, because there's multiple ways to solve these big puzzles that we're doing with the bosses anyway. So I mean, the videos works 9 out of 10 times, but sometimes that odd time, it might actually work to change it up a little bit. Regarding what we're doing at the moment, we are in heroics, so we're going with as many people as possible, and we are running roughly 25 people at the moment, so we're 5 healing most fights. The avatar, we are streamlining the raid a little bit, because we see that fight a little bit more as a progression at the moment. So we go down to 20 and 4 healers. But it can vary from fight to fight. I mean, if it's like a really harsh DPS check, then you might actually want to go down to 3 healers and in a 20 people group. So it kind of depends. But yeah, I would say mythic, 4 healers on most fights.
And I would say that was probably, I think, to answer your question, Dan, I think that's probably more close to the standard. I think what the trouble that we get into with our group, and I think a lot of other groups get into trouble with too, is the fear of things being a little too difficult. And not being a little afraid to take on that extra bit of difficulty.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, and I think our healers, that the fact that having that 5th healer provides that cushion to where people aren't dying. Because I would, from the times I've healed in past expansions, if DPS dies, even if it's that DPS's fault and it's 100% clear, the whole world can see they stood in fire, it's their fault. On some part, or some level of you still feel a little bit of guilt. You think in the back of your mind, I probably could have kept them alive, right? Or like if you're a priest, I probably could have life gripped them out of there.
I had an example from just today where I saw the tank go down to 10% health. And I had my cooldown, my guardian spirit ready, but I just in that moment didn't think about using it because one of the other healers probably had that, but he didn't. So I was like, crap, this is... Well, it was technically the tank's fault because he missed a cooldown, but I could have saved him, but I didn't. So, yeah, it happens every time, all the time, I guess.
And in every single wipe you do, and even some of the times where you fumble your way through a boss, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to, there's always going to be that one thing that you could have done, and I think that, like you were saying earlier, Marley, sometimes even though if you go look at WoW Progress or you go look at these comps that these other groups are running, that doesn't mean that other comps don't work, right? Like you will always find the situation where people will find a way to make things work.
I mean, nobody has the perfect comp. You need to take a look at what do you have, what is your strengths, and what are your weaknesses, and then you need to utilize that.
So that brings me to my next point, and I think, Dan, you had already started to ask this question. What currently is your raid team's healer makeup?
We have one of each, one of each at the moment. We have a holy priest, obviously. We have a holy paladin, resto shaman, a monk, and what did I miss? A druid?
Druid.
Yeah. So we have one.
So
of
are
each.
You guys rotating in and out then per fights, or?
Not at the moment. We will start doing that when we get to Mythic. But right now, since it is heroic and it is flexible raid size, then we usually just keep everyone in, unless it's the later fights where we still consider it progression, then we might switch people out a little bit. For instance, the raid for tomorrow, we are streamlining the raid down to a 20-man size, and we had to bench one of our healers. So, but we usually rotate people so everybody get a fair chance.
So when you trim down, like you're talking about, what is the logic or the process behind deciding who to bench? And, obviously if it's because of like some violation of in-guild policy that you guys have, there's no need to disclose that information. But if it's I guess my question is there any sort of logic behind, in terms of class makeups or fight specifics, what classes do better in fights? Is there any of that going on in terms of your decision?
Yeah. Obviously, if some classes perform better, then that could be one of the criteria. It could also be just we have a few new people, so the item level is not as high yet, and it can be health pool, which is normally gear dependent, and
if they're a demon hunter.
If they're demon hunter, then a definitely bench. Yeah,
just bench right away.
So, well, we don't have a demon hunter, so that one's easy.
That's easy.
So have you guys had any situations up to this point, Marty? And Cole, I know back when you and I were raiding in Cataclysm, we came into the situation where you and our other friend Googs were both on Resto Druids. It just having two Resto Druids was not any sort of viable. It made things really difficult. Are you guys having any sort of crossover at any point in time, Marty, where you're noticing like having two of the same class in there and from the healing team is kind of not worth it? Or
when we started out of this expansion, we had the weirdest comp. I mean, I was on my Holy Priest, obviously, and then we had, was it 3 paladins, I think? And some, was it a monk? Yeah. So it was not. It was really weird. Yeah, it was really interesting. The one of the paladins though chose to re-roll for shaman instead, so that kind of helped a little bit. But yeah, we're definitely in a much better place now that we have one of each, and we can switch around so as we see fit.
That's cool. And so kind of you and I had spoken before the show, and my whole idea with bringing you on today, and kind of the similar fashion I'll do with the other role specific episodes we do, is per the request that kind of stemmed this whole series of episodes that we're creating now, was from a listener who was looking to kind of get some tips in terms of to help them kind of learn the whole healing process and do better inside of their raids. And so my next question to you is kind of, if you could kind of start to look at Tomb of Sargeras and being a healer stepping into that role, what would be some tips or some things that you have found that are more difficult with this raid versus others that you've had to focus on? I guess just some general advice from a healing perspective for this raid.
I mean, the one thing, and I think that counts for all classes, is you need to learn the fights. I learn it how you learn best, watch a video, do it yourself. It doesn't really matter as long as you learn the fights, because you have if you don't know the fights, then you have no possible way to know when the damage will come. Because if you can precast, for instance, if you know that a lot of AoE healing is coming, then your AoE spell probably has a cast time. So if you know that damage is incoming in 3 seconds, then you can start precasting. So as soon as the damage hits, you heal at the same time, more or less. So small stuff like that. It's really hard to do. I don't master it myself either, but that's like one thing one I guess a really general tip. Learn the fights. So but also I think it's important for all the healers to communicate with each other. In our guild we have a healing channel, a text channel, where we can talk among each other, to kind of just like, because if a lot of AoE damage happens, for instance, then it's not really a good thing if all healers use their cooldowns at the same time, for instance, because then when the next big AoE damage hits, then you don't have any cooldowns left. So have a channel where you can talk among yourselves, and also just chit chat and get to know each other as well, and that's important as well in these kind of games, right? So talk about who's doing what and when and why, really. And if sometimes it's also maybe better to switch cooldowns around, and you can all talk about it in there. So yeah.
So you're telling me I have to socialize?
Exactly.
Oh, fuck.
So my other question too, and I know kind of one of the things that has come out of WoW being around for so long is this common perception of how things should be. And again, going back to, should you run a 4 healer comp? Should you run a 5 healer comp? You can take the argument over to the tanking side. You run 2 tanks, 3 tanks, depending on, raid size, that kind of thing. But another one of the things, or a common perception that's come out of this is, and I think there's a little bit more truth to this particular situation, is what are your roles as a healer based on your class, right? So one of the biggest things is paladins. Paladins have always been known as the tank healers, right? And so there's this common perception is, if you're a holy paladin in the raid, you're healing the tanks. That's your job, right? And I think that while that there is some truth to that, I think that there's also some kind of false conception there that is the case, because I think, like, for instance, we have a holy paladin. She's been with us for a very long time, and she is absolutely fantastic at healing our tanks. Like, she is always way up on the meters doing her job. She's not doing a super ton of overhealing, but our tanks are always getting plenty of heals. But that's what she does, is she heals the tanks. And the other 3 healers, like, you heal the raid, forget about it, and that's fine. It works for our group. She does a great job. She does her job. She doesn't miss any of her responsibilities or her roles, that kind of thing. But do you think, so let's say you're another holy priest listening to the show, right? Would you, for you, Marty, when you're in a raid, are you solely focused on raid healing? Are you kind of spot healing the tanks, healing the raid? Are you just kind of looking and finding where heals are needed and going from there? Like, what's your process?
Again, it really depends on the fight, but I kind of feel like where holy priests shine is really when there's a lot of AoE damage constantly. Those fights where I love those fights where there's everybody in the raid has a dot on them and they taking damage all the time, and I'm like, yes, this is where I shine. So get the hell out of the way, healers. This is my turn. So
it's a healing Scorpion.
Yeah, exactly. So, what I tend to do is I kind of like feel that I'm a little bit of everything, really, as a holy priest. Again, and it also depends on your composition. Again, what kind of healers do you have? I mean, holy priest could probably tank heal. It's not what we excel at. I would still say that paladins has a better chance to do a good job at that, but we could potentially do it as well. So it really depends on a lot of different things. I do feel like, though, that my strong suit is definitely AoE healing, especially when there's a lot of it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're also an officer in your guild, right?
Yeah.
So are you the healing officer? Like, what is your role specifically?
Yeah, I'm the website bitch and healing officer.
All right, fair enough. So like, you're holy paladin in your raid. Are they also helping heal the raid? You know what I mean?
Sorry, what did you ask?
So like, your holy paladin, going back to what stemmed this whole conversation about, perceptions of what you should be doing. Is your holy paladin, are they just on tank duty? Or are they mostly on tank duty but helping heal the raid, spot heals and stuff like that?
No, they're generally helping as well. We have a really, really good paladin as well that I've known since he was, I don't know, 12 years old. He basically grew up with World of Warcraft, and he's an amazing healer, so much better than I am, to be honest. But again,
these young guys always so good now. It's just like regular sports. I feel all old and can't press buttons anymore.
It's because you are old now.
Yeah,
that's true.
But paladins this time around is actually pretty good at AOE healing. If people are stacked up in a tight group, then they heal for a lot because of the mastery that the closer they are to the target they're healing, the more healing they actually do. So on fights where you're stacked up and you require a lot of healing, then they'll excel right there. So they can do a decent amount of AOE healing as well.
Sure. And I guess, I think some of this question will be answered a little bit more as we take a look at each of the fights. But I think if there's any sort of takeaway, and you can tell me whether you agree or don't disagree, is first and foremost, if you're, kind of your focus is, if you're the Mistweaver monk or the paladin in the group, certainly make sure the tanks are topped off and healed, but don't be afraid to jump over and help out with raid healing, spot healing, that kind of thing. So, your primary focus should be what your responsibilities are, but don't be afraid to venture out from that.
No. Group. No, you should always, in my opinion, heal everything. Obviously, if you're in charge of doing the tank healing, that's your main focus, and that's your responsibility. But if the tanks are not taking any damage, then you should not just stand around. Then you help the other healers, because everybody wants to save some mana, right? So if you can help the other healers saving a little bit mana, then everybody's happy, hopefully.
Well, and I would say, and Dan, I'm sure you can probably agree here, the point in time where our group really realized that very sentiment was with Mythic, Chronomatic, and Nighthold, where like I said, our Holy Paladin, she is fantastic at healing our tanks. But it was with dealing with time releases, especially during the sped up phase. It was really noticeable when she was able to help the group out with getting rid of those, just because of her toolkit for large single target heals.
Oh yes,
with Holy Shocks and her Holy Lights and stuff like that.
Holy shot for the win, and then she disappeared for a month because of the move. And we're like, now what?
Yeah. I think that would be the takeaway for those of you listening who might be coming to the show for any advice. Is certainly do your responsibilities, take care of your jobs, but don't certainly help the raid out. Heal everything. If there's health to be healed, throw some heals at it. Go ahead, Marty.
One of my things that I always compete with myself. So if I'm doing a 5-man instance, I always have this mantra that nobody can die, and I have the same in raids as well. Nobody can die, and if somebody died, then I should have probably done a better job. Even though sometimes it's not always your fault. I mean, if DPS is standing in fire and they're not supposed to, then it is technically their own fault. But I still feel like I still want to compete with myself and see, can I keep him alive? Yes, I could. Yes, that's amazing. And we have a DPS that still does DPS. So
actually, that perfectly segues into what I wanted to ask you. How do you get over the stress of healing? Like, I feel like it's so stressful, and that's why I quit doing it from when I healed on Wrath and Kata. I was on a druid, so I just did raid healing at that time as a big tree. But how do you deal with this as DPS? I don't feel like I have stress. I just stick on the boss or move out of fire and stuff like that, right?
You just have warm feet.
Yeah,
you move
exactly.
out of fire. You move out of fire. Okay.
But
I don't know.
So
I don't find it stressful to heal, and I maybe it's just something that comes with experience, and because I've been playing a healer for as long as World of Warcraft has been out, more or less. I actually feel stressful if I have to DPS, because all of a sudden I have this rotation that, well, granted, I probably don't know it too well as well, and I don't think that helps either. And I also need to make sure that I move out of stuff and still do DPS, and I panic, and I'm so stressed if I'm DPSing. So I guess it's just a matter of what you're used to and what kind of play style you prefer.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, thinking from the healer's perspective on DPSing. Because for me, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too hard. I just follow the rotation that I've set up, or move, or get to a place quickly. But when I would do 5-mans as a healer, you have those other 4 people's lives in your hands, and you're like, it feels like it all hinges on you to keep them and everyone going, especially with these mythic pluses. Like, I could not deal with it.
Well,
so it's really interesting.
I think also I really, really prefer going in with guildies.
For sure.
I rarely go in with randoms unless it's really low level Mythic Plus or something like that. Because everybody can have an off day, and if I'm having an off day with guildies, then it's fine. Nobody really cares. But if I'm having an off day with randoms, then sometimes people can be dicks.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way with tanking. I know that'll be for another show, but those two roles, they just feel so. You only have 5 or 2 of you in a raid, so it's like
a responsibility commitment issue.
Yeah, right.
You want to be the mindless person of the raid.
Well, that's always true for me. I just like to sit there. So,
and I would say too, one thing I've noticed, Cole, is that I have over the years, I've kind of dabbled in all of the different roles, but I would say arguably healers have probably one of the more difficult times in terms of they have more to pay attention to, right? It's not just staring at the ground, staring at the fight and pressing your buttons. They have to stare at raid frames, pay attention to timers, and keep themselves alive, make sure they're not standing in, they're still performing mechanics. And so I think that there is some warrant to an extra little bit of stress. But I think at the same time, like Marty was saying, I think if you are going to be in a progression guild, no matter whether you are in a normal progression guild, a heroic progression guild, or a mythic progression guild, that either at some level there should always be that hunger of, even if there was nothing that you could have done to change the outcome, there should still be that hunger that I'm sure that there's something I could have done, right? So maintaining that whole understanding and that logical side of things, that, okay, let's be realistic here. There's nothing I could have done. If people want to get pissed about it, that's their problem. But still wanting to do better, right? There's that drive and that hunger to continue to do better. And so hopefully most everybody listening to the show is coming either, interested in a progression guild or looking to get into one, or currently is in one and looking to improve. That would be my biggest advice to anybody listening, is just if you find at any point in time that you lose that hunger, you're probably done being a part of a progression group. I think that's a good conversation. Did you have something to say, Marty?
Yeah, and I just want to add that also don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things out. For instance, with all the legendaries that we have now, maybe there is a combination that people haven't discovered yet with a specific legendary and talent setup that might work way better for some fights, and also maybe just personal playstyle. I actually do know a few people that take different talents than other people than everybody else does in specific fights, because it's just their play style that just does that. That's how they perform better. So don't be afraid to experiment. Try and figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, and obviously what works best for the team that you're involved with, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know on our team, we had talked about this earlier when we were talking about cooldowns. We have a resto druid, and she often ends up going back to the talent where she runs a 2-minute trank versus the 3-minute. She's able to get more tranks off in a fight, and so that actually changes up what order we use our cooldowns with. And sometimes that helps us because without her running that 2-minute trank, it causes for a need for our shaman to drop like his spirit link totem earlier. But there's a harder hitting mechanic later on where if she runs that 2-minute trank, she can actually take the place of his spirit link totem, and he can save it for that hard hitting mechanic, and it ends up working out better for our healing comp to do it that way.
Yeah.
And so paying attention to what your comp has available, the tools that your comp has available to them. Obviously, like Marty said, don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things, but it's there's no set in stone formula.
And communication among the healers, because when you change things up, you might want to tell the other healers that, hey, I'm changing this around, so I'm not using this cooldown here. They might want to know that. But sure. But yeah, I don't know, should we talk a little bit about add-ons as well?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any add-ons that you really like, you think people should take a look at, by all means, plug them.
Because we were talking about cooldowns, so get some kind of way to track the other healers' cooldowns, maybe, because as I said earlier, it's always bad to blow 2 cooldowns at the same time if you can avoid it. I'm using the Exodus raid tools for that part. then weak auras is my go-to for anything really. It's so good. It's really it has a really high learning curve. It's it's not easy to set up. I know they do have some templates in there these days, so it's fairly easy to set up basic stuff. But you can do anything and everything with that add-on. I started out using it to track my Prayer of Mending because I forgot to reapply it a lot of the time. So I just had this add-on to I set up a weak aura to track it. So when every time it was off cooldown, I got a note, something flashing on my screen. I was like, oh shit, time to reapply Prayer of Mending, and it actually did what it was supposed to do to make me get that into my rotation, and now I got used to it. And I lost all my weak auras a few months back for some odd reason, but I realized that now I didn't have to actually remake that Prayer of Mending weak aura, because now I got used to actually put it into my rotation, and I didn't forget it anymore. So it's also just like you can use it as a tool to just learn when to do stuff as well.
Now, are you using any special raid frames?
No, I actually use the built-in ones, but because you can customize them quite a bit actually, and a lot of people don't know this. You can move them around and place them as you see fit, and you can set up if you want to see all debuffs or only the ones you can dispel, and you can actually do quite a bit with it. I know a lot of the other healers from my guild don't really like them, but I really love them. And also when that new patch hits, I can usually still see all the things I need to dispel, where the others sometimes struggle with that. But I mean that's a personal thing. What do you prefer to use? I use the built-in ones because I think they get the job done perfectly for me.
Yeah, and I know I've used the built-in WoW ones in the past, and they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. No. So I would agree with that statement. We're running a little long on time here, but I would like to get to the raid more specifically. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to walk through each of the fights, and you can kind of tell us what are some of the struggles, or maybe any sort of tips that you could provide for healers. So let's just jump right into it, and let's start off with Gorath. From a heroic progression standpoint, I know you haven't jumped into Mythic quite yet, but is this a heavy healing fight? What's going on here?
If people do what they're supposed to do, then I don't feel like it's a heavy healing fight. But if people miss that meteor thingy and everybody takes increased damage, then yeah, your healers will be really busy. But overall, it is an entry bar, so I don't feel like there's too much to it as long as people do what they're supposed to do.
So are you finding that you're DPSing a lot of the times in this fight?
Yeah, quite a bit of the time now, but also that's also one of the things when the DPS starts to learn the fight, then they don't take as much damage as well. So you have to take that into consideration as well. And I think we got this this fight under the belt quite a few times. So yeah, that's the DPS fight for me, more or less.
Sure.
As a healer.
Now for your cooldowns, are you kind of just use them as needed, or is there any like particular points where you kind of need to use them?
You might want to use them every time there's that meteor that follows a player, and when that hits, the whole raid take damage.
Shattering Star.
I'm really bad with spell names, so
Shattering Star.
All right. So when that hits, you might maybe want to set up a cooldown rotation, depending on your guild's general gear level, because if people are a little bit lower gear level, then obviously they don't have as much stamina, and you need to pick them up quicker. So maybe have a cooldown rotation, but I would say that most of the time you should be able to just straight up out heal it.
Don't worry, I'm the lowest item level in the raid. and I'm one of the main tanks.
So I'd like to move on to it's true. To move on to the Demonic Inquisition fight here, I gotta imagine that this is kind of an interesting fight for healers.
Go ahead. The thing is, though, that I'm really bad with names to begin with, and also I was not around the first week when everybody learned the tactics as a guild, because I was on holiday at that point, so I'm a little bit. You need to remind me the fights a little bit here.
Okay, this is the one where people have to go into the other room to get rid of their torment, and there's the ad that you damage it for the orbs to get rid of your torment, and you jump back up.
All right, yeah, that one. Overall, I mean, it's really important for this fight for your tank to be a little bit vocal, because if there's no tank down in that room and you need to go down there, then you'll probably die pretty fast. So I don't think it's too harsh a healing fight, really. But it's more about communication and execution in that one.
And I think we have certainly felt that pain. Wouldn't you guys agree, Dan and Cole?
I think we got over it when we started calling out our dispels and stuff like that. I know if a DPS does go down there without a tank, they usually will die quickly.
We have our moments.
But yeah, I think we performed it pretty well.
Are usually pretty good about calling when we're coming up and down, at least 90% of the time, I want to say.
I don't know. For that fight, if DPS is paying attention and dodging things that they don't need to be hit by, then it's a pretty easy fight, I would think, for healing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I think.
And I also know. Go ahead, Marty.
I think we actually had a little bit of a problem today, which is a luxury problem, to be honest, because healers were too quick to dispel, so people didn't get a chance to run away. So I had to tell the healers, to calm down a little bit, give people a chance to to get away from the group before we dispel. So yeah.
And I know one of the struggles with our group was one of the times that we really noticed it from a healing standpoint was when more than one healer would have enough torment that, you know, 2 or 3 of them would be down in the other room at the same time, and it was only 1 or 2 healers left up, and it was like at that point you could really, if you were looking at raid frames, you could really see the raid starting to take some damage. Then it was, but so I think going back to what you've said already, Marty, I think communication is absolutely key, especially from a healer standpoint here. And like Dan was saying, you know, the tanks need to be communicating too, because your communication as DPS and tanks on this fight specifically is really going to make or break how easy or hard of a time your healers are going to have on this fight.
Yeah.
So moving on here, Harjatan, this is the one where the ads get spawned in the middle of the room, and you have to run the puddles out to the edge as he spits them back out.
Yeah, and you stack up in front of him.
Yep.
Again, you need to look out when he does his big AoE thing when you're standing in front of him. But again, I don't think you shouldn't really be. It shouldn't be too necessary to use too many cooldowns on this. It's only like if you get that rare one where people are a little bit low on health anyway before they stack up or something like that. You need to pay attention. But besides that, you should be able to just straight up heal it up again. I'm still thinking this is an entry raid boss, but the tactics are starting to matter a little bit now.
Sure. Well,
I mean, we actually had a wipe on it today because we think the DPS fucked up with the ads. They were DPSing them down too quick, I think. So we got the tornadoes on us, but the healers were really quick to react to that and popped a few cooldowns to get everybody up. So we only lost 2 people, but in the end, I think we wiped on it anyway. So yeah, that's too much DPS can also be a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's talk Mistress Sazine. This is the one where the whale jumps across the room.
Yeah. Don't stand in shit. The end.
How do you guys are you guys rotating cooldowns for the dead eyes where you got to soak the green beams?
Only if it's necessary, I would say. And how we do it actually, when we set up, we know usually know when the different abilities will hit, so we set up a rotation where it's like, if it's needed, you should use it here. If it's not needed, then save it for that oh shit moment. So sometimes we use cooldowns if it's really needed. If it's my turn and I feel like, well, we can probably heal this up, then I won't use mine, because cooldowns is also nice to have for that oh shit moment when someone messes up.
Sure. So cool. Moving on, let's talk Sisters of the Moon, where you have to.
I don't get that fight, to be honest. The only we have a really good raid leader who is like really move to dark side, move to light side, and I just follow his lead. I have no clue what's going on. I should probably learn that fight.
I don't think you're the only raider.
Yeah, that fight though. There's something about it.
Yeah,
it's a lot going on.
Alt run, I was trying to figure it out, and I finally think I figured out the tank movement where you actually only use half the room and not even bother with the other half, because by the time the moon gets to the middle, you should be good.
I'll learn it from Mythic.
Yeah.
How's the healing in this fight? Intense, pretty easy.
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. Again, overall, the thing is though that we're running with 5 healers. We're playing it safe at the moment, so it is. I haven't really felt too many of the fights are too hard at the moment healing wise. But then again, I think when it will probably change when we go into Mythic and we start to actually have one less healer. So yeah.
And I would say from our group's perspective, again, for those of you who may be first-time listeners here, I'm currently the raid lead of our guild. Dan is the co-raid lead, and Cole is one of our raiders. And so even though I'm a ranged DPSer, I have to pay attention, or I'm forcing myself to pay attention to a lot of things so that I can do my job. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of the damage that's going out in the raid isn't coming from unless somebody just takes a ridiculous amount of stacks from standing in one color for too long. But I think even on, a lower difficulty, you can take 15, 16, 17 stacks and it's not really a huge deal. And if you pretty much stand still, eventually I think the how fast the floor changes colors, it naturally takes care of itself and you don't have to worry about it too much. But for the most of the damage are the glaives in the rapid shot and the AoE arrows that are coming out, a lot of the random boss stamp moves. And some of those, like I know in our group, there were a lot of the one shots that were going out with rapid shot, or not really one shots, but they would do 75% of a person's health and the next one would kill them right away if our healers weren't quick enough to react to it. So pay attention to that kind of stuff. I would definitely advise.
Yeah, I think on that fight, because you also have the healing absorb shield thingy that you need to heal up before it explodes. On that one, we have a healing rotation going on, because if you miss one, then you can kill quite a few raid members.
Now, are you just rotating healing, or are you rotating cooldowns for that?
We're rotating healing cooldowns for that.
Okay, cool. Let's talk Desolate Host. This is another very unique mechanical fight.
Oh, I bet as a healer who doesn't want people to die, you probably dislike this fight a lot. Because you can only heal half of the raid.
Yeah, it's I don't like these fights. I want to heal everybody, but yeah, it's pretty good fun though. I'm usually I haven't really tried healing the what's it called, the other side. I'm usually on the living side. The
corporeal.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's not. Again, I don't feel this is too bad healing. We don't. Again, we have like a healing rotation. Well, a cooldown priority list for specific moments that where it's like, well, if needed, use it. If not, then just heal normally. So. Most of the time you probably should be able to straight up heal people, but if people take random damage, you might
I think as long as people are doing mechanics that they shouldn't be taking too much damage.
No, it's an execution fight.
Yeah, definitely a DPS check. And
I think on this fight, unless you're the healer that's sticking around to heal, like our group runs, the way our comp or our mechanic for this fight is we can leave a tank and a healer in the spirit realm during Wailing Souls. and the healer can heal them through. So unless you're the healer inside of that, I think the biggest thing to note here is, again, like this Sisters of the Moon, is really look out for that random damage that goes out from people from standing in things or getting hit by things they shouldn't be. That kind of stuff does happen. But other than that, like I think you said, Marty, from what I've noticed, it's pretty a straightforward fight of just heal when, drop your cooldowns if needed for the oh shit moments. But other than that, just heal, keep everybody alive. Nothing super complicated about it.
No.
Let's talk. Okay, this is, we have said this before, and I will continue to gush about this fight. Maiden of Vigilance, one of my favorite fights in the game right now. How is this for healers?
Maiden. Oh,
you got to soak the orbs after she teleports.
Can we hold on a second? Room. Did he just use the word gush?
Yep, I did.
I'm not even gonna bother. I can't.
I like that word.
Who are you? Get out.
So,
Maiden, it's so far away from me right now. What the hell?
She has the green and yellow orbs. You have to
soak.
Soak.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Again, we have a healing rotation for when she does the AoE attacks. Where the when you need to stack up and one of the groups take a lot of damage, we have a cooldown rotation that, again, use it if needed. If not, just try and straight up heal people up. You should be able to do that, but sometimes you might struggle, especially if people have been hit by the previous attack.
I guess my question to you, when you guys are doing the orb soaks, are you staying with the group? Or are you kind of sitting back so that you can free cast and heal people?
When we soak the orbs, that's after when she teleports, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we obviously split in two groups, and both groups stay together all the time doing that phase.
So you're moving with everybody else?
I'm moving with everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a couple of different theories on that fight with healing. Because obviously healers, they're not really going to be vital on damage, especially if you're in a larger raid size. But I think, because I'm guessing the damage increase also gives a healing increase from the orb soaks.
I actually was meant to check that out, but I forgot to do that today.
I don't know either. Personally, I should know it, but I don't.
I probably should know it as well. I'm the worst. I'm the worst healing leader at the moment. But yeah, I mean, we just stack up because it also makes it a little bit easier for healers if people are stacked up. A lot of AoE healing effects is in a specific area, so it just makes sense for everybody to be stacked up and use so we can heal everything.
Sure, cool. So as we're winding down here, let's talk Fallen Avatar. This is a DPS race. This is a DPS check here. What's it like for healing?
It's fun. I like it. I actually like it. I don't know what it is about this fight that I enjoy so much, but maybe it's one of the fights where I actually am high up on the meters. Maybe, I don't know. I really enjoyed this fight when we did it last week and this week as well. It can. I mean, the most healing intensive part is definitely in phase 2. I think on the top level you need to look out for those DPS who are a little bit too slow to move on some of the effects. We have a few offenders that always get hit by specific abilities, but we kind of know that now, so we just can heal them up really quickly if they fail. But it's definitely down below. I would recommend to have a cooldown rotation for healers because it's a shit show down there, to be frank. Especially if people get hit by tornadoes. You really need to as a healer be on your game down there, because you need to do a lot of AoE healing. But if a few people get hit by the tornado, you kind of need to decide, do I try to save them or do I think about the raid first in that situation? So yeah, it's a shit show.
Which as I think everybody's picked up on now that's been listening so far to this point, you kind of like the shit shows because it gives you a lot to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the fun part of being a healer. That's actually, I know that all healers are like, oh, the DPS was standing in fire again, but secretly inside they're like, yes, that means I can heal a little bit and I can top meters and stuff. So yeah,
complete
don't get
opposite
fooled.
of what we talked about.
Well, actually, I really like the fights where you can predict a lot of the damage. I remember when I did in Mist of Pandaria, that was one of the council fights in Mogushan Walls. You could predict everything, and it was also at the time where disc were really, really strong. So I basically could solo heal that fight because all the damage was predictable. I could just shield up everybody and everything, and all the healers were just standing there, not really knowing what to do. I quite enjoyed that. That was fun.
Well, let's talk to Big Daddy Batty here. Let's round this out here at the last boss here. I know you said your group hasn't killed him yet, but from what you have done and seen, what's this fight like for a healer, Mr. Kill Jaden?
I think it's really intense for us at the moment as in our healing team, but I think it's down to that the DPS also is a little bit unsure about what's going on, so they take a lot of extra damage that are not supposed to, so it means we need to heal a little bit more. So I think it's it's an execution fight, so when people get better at executing it, healing will definitely be easier to do. I don't really have too much experience with this fight because when we do it on normal, we basically just blast through it so fast, so it didn't really feel like I did anything on that. So I'm a little bit unsure still. I'm looking forward for tomorrow to have a proper go at it and get some experience in that fight.
So from the little bit of experience you've had in normal, how is the fog of war mechanic for a healer? You're down in the darkness.
It doesn't really matter too much. I'm looking at the bars anyway, so if they go down, then I heal. I don't really care where people are on the playing field.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, there you have it, guys. This has been a healing episode with Marty here, and we certainly appreciate him taking the time to go over these bosses and provide any sort of tidbits of help he can provide to any of you prospective healers out there. And it's always neat to hear it from the horse's mouth of somebody else in a different role, because there is kind of the uniqueness with this game right now that everybody is there's a lot of flavors out there currently, and so when you're not playing the one that we're talking about, it's neat to hear about it. So we certainly appreciate that. Before we take off here, guys, I'd like to briefly talk. Dan, what's going on with the Mythic race here, man?
The Mythic race has actually gotten pretty interesting, you could say. Seems how the majority of the playing field is sitting at 7 of 9, with Method having, I think, 2 days now sitting on KJ. But I don't know if you would actually count today as a respected day on KJ due to the fact that they did some changes with Mistress herself, where from what I was reading on a couple of the sites, a lot of the top end guilds were having blood decays just soak the beams, but they now stun, so all the guilds had to change their strats, and Method is the only one that has been posted to get past it so far. So once again, they're out front. In other news of the race, Future, last week we talked, they were up in the 40th ranking. They jumped up to 13th, so they're sitting in the 7 of 9 mark as well. They haven't gotten past Mistress again yet this week. Other than that,
what about the Wildstar Guild?
I was just getting to that. Our lovely Keep an Eye on guild that joined the US for some world racing. I saw a tweet this morning that most of them left the guild.
Oh, interesting.
I don't really
They
have any documentation.
disbanded.
Yep. I didn't get any real word on what happened to them other than a funny tweet seeing everyone leave. Asian servers, A-Stars ended up disbanding, and some of their members reformed under Stars Gaming, but we're not sure if we're going to see them back in the race, what we're going to really see with them. But that's really all the updates that has happened with the World Race not terrible amount of guilds folding, and the only real game-breaking upset so far is method downing Avatar, which SCO and Just Wait were posting in a joking manner that it mathematically was impossible with 453 attempts to kill, where Gul'dan took somewhere between 250 to 275 attempts. So
yeah, it seems about right.
Pretty high skill cap there, I guess.
So real quick, roundtable, everybody gets to chime in here. What are the predictions in terms of when does KJ go down? I'm predicting early next week after the reset. What about you, Dan?
Actually, as much as I don't want to, and if it does go longer, they're probably going to end up throwing a nerf into it. But
well, I think it would be interesting if there were 2 or 3 guilds who downed Avatar working on KJ all at the same time. I think that's where it really gets fun, because it's like, who's going to take it?
I thought
Go ahead, Marty.
I thought it was really interesting how many was it, like 20 guilds at the same time, sitting at 7 out of 9. I was like, this is really interesting. I actually was a little bit sad that one guild is ahead now, because it let's be frank, it's a race. It's most interesting when they're close, right? So
yeah,
I agree.
Or there's a wreck.
Well, I think this is the first kill. I think this is the first out in front kill we've had where there wasn't at least 1 or 2 other guilds to follow suit in the same day. So far in this race, I think so far in this race, every other first kill was followed by at least 1 or 2 guilds in the same day.
They have a couple day head start or a 1 day head start, and then method killed Elisand. I think, not positive.
No, I'm sorry, I meant for this tier for Tomb.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, Nighthold was a different story. But yeah, I think this. I think. No, sorry. Yeah, just Tomb. I think this is the first one we've had where there hasn't been another guild to follow suit in the same day. So, well, that's the race, guys. And real quick, Marty, I'd like to kind of throw this one at you. We certainly talked about this at your show. Without giving away too many big spoilers here, what's going on with the Argus raid? I know we had a little discussion on Argus the Unmaker. Are we excited about the new raid?
What the hell, man? Are we talking new content
this?
already? I just started doing Tomb of Sargeras. Come on.
Throw the salt.
But,
I'm going to go la la la
of
la
course
la, and close my ears.
Yeah. I'm totally excited. I'm a lore nerd. I love the story. I'm really looking forward to see what the hell is going on in that raid, because I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's some pretty big names in there.
Yeah, Titans and all the whole works, right?
Oh, we are spoiling it then.
Well, we won't give specifics. We'll give some broad spoilers.
All right.
They're not Titans, they're souls.
So I'm sure Cole is cursing at his microphone right now, or it's probably throwing his headphones halfway across the room.
No, I actually just tuned in right now when I saw Dan talking, because I figured he didn't read about it, but so I don't know what was said.
But
well,
I'm definitely looking forward to it, but I want to get a little bit more into Tomb of Sargeras first.
You don't want to start on Argus tomorrow?
Well, I wouldn't mind, to be honest, but I don't know. I mean, so far there was an article, I can't remember where it was right now, where they say that they figured out that there's 77 days, I believe it was, between each patch so far. And if they continue down that road, then the next patch will hit in late August, which is right around the corner. And I'm like, it might actually make sense if there is so much content in Argus, because this time around, patches and raids does not come hand in hand. So maybe we'll actually have to go to Argus sooner than later, actually. And to be honest, I'll welcome that, because outside raiding, I'm really bored.
If we get Argus tomorrow, can we get the new expansion next week?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sure.
And we'll mail you all the legendaries you don't have.
I'm still thinking that it'll
your legendaries
come out
because they won't exist anymore.
Yeah, I'm still thinking it'll come out around BlizzCon. I think that'd be cool.
Okay, so that's I can't pass on that comment, Cole, before we close the show out. Okay, just everybody real quick, 10 words or less. What are your predictions for the BlizzCon announcement? New expansion, new raid, what? Cole, you can start us off.
I have an hour and 10 minutes before I buy tickets, so I'll find out there. No.
Okay.
Is that gonna be my wedding present?
Sure. You
No,
probably
don't
won't
do
even be
that.
back yet.
Don't do that.
Um,
No, I'm coming back from my freaking honeymoon, and then I have to go back to school, so I can't take any more time off.
Loser.
What's your prediction,
I
Cole?
want to say Diablo expansion and a new like mobile game. That's probably
Okay.
what I'm thinking.
So what is your prediction
Not
for the WoW
BlizzCon.
front? I guess I
WoW
should be
front.
more
I'm thinking this
specific.
patch. That's what's gonna come out.
Yeah, BlizzCon. Okay, Marty, what about you?
If you asked me before this expansion, I would have probably said that they're probably going to announce an expansion, but I don't really know anymore because they have said now that they might just keep doing patches for a while. Because I mean, do you really need an expansion to go into something new? And I kind of agree with that, but also I really don't know. I kind of hope that they're announcing their expansion. Because it kind of feels like we are coming to an end now, right?
Right.
So I kind of hope that announcing a new expansion wherever we might then go after this. I have a few ideas myself, but yeah, who knows?
Cool. What about you, Dan?
I am up in the air because I think it's too soon to announce the new expansion. We're a year in which, guys, I'm sorry, but the last two expansions, we spent over a year in the last tier. So I think an announcement, not this year. I think probably Gamescom next year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I like you anymore, Dan.
Listen, Marty, I'm not very happy about it.
And I should be clear.
But it's reality.
Well, and I should be more clear. I didn't mean like the patch between patches. So there will be a patch to release Argus, and then I think there'll be that second patch that releases the raid. I think the raid patch is going to be the one at BlizzCon.
So 7.4.
I think they'll announce it.
No, 7.3.5, I guess.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think if you look at the dates and how it's been up until now, then 7.3 should be late August, and 7.3.5 should be around BlizzCon. But I also kind of feel like doing just this raid with only 9 bosses for that long feels a little bit. It feels like a long time, doesn't it? Because when we look at the previous tier, it was 3 raids, right? And this time it's only one raid with 9 bosses, so...
But Marty, we got Mythic Pluses.
But Nighthold felt like it was forever, so...
Yeah, it kind of did, yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Well, and I think that's my general consensus is I think a lot of what will determine new expansion versus new patch will be if we do indeed defeat the Legion on Argus. If that is the case, then it's on to the next storyline. It would be really hard to continue with a patch because patches are really just a continuation of story. Whereas if you have a major break in story and you're on the next thing, that's kind of at that pivotal point where you should probably throw out a new expansion. So as for my prediction, I'm going to predict that they are going to continue with their super fast get things up on the PTR and get the information out to the public way before it's ever even going to come to us. So I'm guessing we'll hear something about a new expansion. That's going to be my prediction. As to when that expansion will come, I'm with you. I don't think it'll come right on the 2-year mark like they traditionally have been.
That is true, because what did they announce at Gamescom August last year, and we didn't see beta until February, March?
Yeah.
I mean, alpha, not even beta, because we saw beta in June.
Yeah.
Go fucking figure.
Well, on that note, guys, we are about an hour and 20 in, so that's going to wrap up the show today. I really hope for those of you that are tuning in to hear about Healing and Tomb have liked what we have certainly talked about today. And if you guys think we missed some things, by all means, chime in, let us know what you think, or things that we should have covered. If you have any suggestions or requests for subject matters, like I said earlier in the show, let us know that too. Or if you just want to say hi and give us some praise, you can do that too. Before we wrap it up,
Cole's lonely.
I'm lonely.
Send him something.
Yeah. So, Marty, why don't you go and tell everybody where they
I don't
can
even know what
find
the
you?
internet is.
Marty, this is your time for shameless plugs. Let everybody know where they can find you.
All right, I do not have the most easy to spell Twitter name. It's my priest name called Unamethil. If you don't know how to spell that, which you probably don't, then you can go to the bluerecluse.eu. It has obviously all the shows that I'm doing on the Blue Recluse, but also my Twitter account. And if you have healing questions or anything, feel free to hit me up over that as well. My more personal stuff, Sleepless in Copenhagen, is on sleeplessincph.com. And we actually, I didn't mention that earlier, but we also have a third podcast actually, which is about 5.5 rated movies on IMDb, which is called 5.5.reviews. So check that out as well if you like bad movies. Well, it's not all bad. There are actually some quite good among them.
I know I've been meaning to check out that one, and I can't praise it enough. Check out Sleepless in Copenhagen, guys. It's different. I won't sugarcoat that, but it's different in a good way. I've really enjoyed the listens I have so far. So that being said, Dan, why don't you kind of tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me at JacksonGad1125 on both Twitter and Twitch. As Irish had said earlier, pay attention to our TRC YouTube channel because I myself have some works that should be going up shortly. Might be a couple days, but please bear with me. There'll be stuff up.
Cool. And as per usual, guys, Cole does not have social media yet. So send us an email. Just use every profanity in the book. And let him know how sucky he is.
If you need some profanity lessons, go watch Boondock Saints 1. They sure show you the diversity of the word fuck.
Yeah. So, but yeah, send us an email. Tell him Cole he's a grump and should get social media. But as for me, guys, you can find me both on Twitch and Twitter at McIrish Gaming. You can find me on the other show I do, Blizzard Umbrella, with my good friend Dusty Porter, where we, like Marty over at the Blue Recluse, talk all Blizzard games except for StarCraft. We don't talk StarCraft on our show, but they do on Marty's show. So if you're a StarCraft fan, go to Marty's show. Give them some.
So StarCraft 3 BlizzCon is what you're saying?
Totally, yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, the latest StarCraft patch says it all. It was the largest StarCraft patch ever. It contained a fix that fixed the Mac client so it didn't crash.
Nice.
Wait, when did we start talking about StarCraft? I'm confused.
World of StarCraft.
This isn't the Umbrella.
Yeah.
Or the Recluse.
So, if you're looking to find us, guys, you can find us here on the TRC crew. You can find us on our Twitter at _TRC podcast. If you want to send us an email, you can get a hold of us at theraidersconfessional@gmail.com. There's no apostrophe on the S. But as for me, guys, and as for the rest of the crew here and our lovely guest, Marty, who we can't thank enough for coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank
Marty,
you very much.
I feel like I just did this with you a couple days ago.
We did.
But it has been fun. So that's going to do it for us, guys. And so with that being said, we will talk to you at the next show. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I was not prepared.